Namaste yogis, this is Stephen from Yoga Works. Welcome to your practice. In this mini-series we are addressing how we can increase the flexibility in certain parts of the body. We've had a hamstring focused class before, and in this class I want to unlock the adductors, which is a group of really strong muscles on the insides of the thighs, so running from the knee joint into the groin. And their main action is to adduct the legs, to bring the legs closer together. But also pretty much with any movement we're going to be doing, walking, running, jumping, they are going to be involved in some way or another, often for a stabilizing function. And often they are a little bit neglected. There's a lot of focus that goes to hamstrings, to quads and to other main muscle groups. And this one is often a bit harder to get to, so that's what we'll focus on today. Remember, whenever we are targeting a muscle, it's hard to target any muscle in particular without affecting the ones around it. We are a complex system of chains of muscles and connective tissue that work together, so we'll definitely run into some hamstrings, some lower back, and pretty much if you move one thing, the whole body moves with it. But we're going to be quite targeted on the inner thighs. So enjoy, don't go too fast. Remember, these things take time to get more flexible. It might be a lifelong project, which is good news, so you have a lot more happy years on your yoga mat ahead. So let's come to quite a wide stance. Not too wide, so you're really stretched out, but quite wide. And we're going to be folding forward, put a bit of a soft bend in the knees and turn the toes out just a little bit. And then with the hands on the ground, we're going to start swaying to the left first. So see how I'm bending the left knee and straightening the right leg a bit. Doesn't have to be all the way. And then I'm swaying to the right, I'm bending that right knee that I'm moving towards and straightening the left leg a bit. And then just continue that as you're swaying side to side. Let your head drop and let the upper body relax. And just feel this gentle movement. It's a nice one to start with, just to bring a sense of relaxation, almost like you're rocking yourself to the body. And at the same time, it's a really nice way of contracting and relaxing these inner thigh muscles. You'll feel that as you move away from the straighter leg, you get a really nice stretch. Relax your head, relax the torso, and just sway side to side. I like to do this for about 2 minutes at a time. It's a really nice warm-up by itself. If you don't have a lot of time, then just this one might be a good, quick introduction to the inner thigh stretches. Swaying, and you probably feel as you sway more, you're starting to get a bit more relaxed already in this motion. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now place the knees down. Step your left foot out to the side. Keep the right hip above your right knee, and then just straighten the left leg. That's it. So the toes are up. And we'll come into gate pose. So with the left hand, I'm sliding down that left thigh. Probably for most of us, that hand will end up somewhere between the knee and the ankle. And then if you like, your right arm can reach up and over, so get a nice side bend into the right as well. And just stay here for a moment. If it's available, the left hand can also come down, or you can use a block to rest on. Doesn't really matter. And then slowly come up. Place the left knee back. Place the right foot off to the right. Straighten the right leg with the toes up. Slide the right hand on the right leg and take the left arm over the head. Couple of breaths here. The hand comes down, that's also good. Just see where you get to. Couple of breaths. And then slowly come back up. Now place the feet back quite wide and hold your ankles. Walk the feet away from each other as much as you need to. You'll feel what is the right distance for you. And soften your hips down. Lengthen the spine a bit forward. You can even look forward just to accentuate that, but then you can just relax the neck. With your feet and your hands, imagine nailing the feet down to the floor, and then a couple of times straighten and rebend the knees. Straighten and rebend. Very simple. Every time you rebend, can you sink the hips down a little bit lower? And you'll feel those inner thigh muscles are working hard. They are getting a stretch, but then as you straighten up, they're also active to make that happen. Next time you rebend, stay here. And then with the elbows, can you push the knees away from each other and even towards your back? And then keep the legs the same, but just come up a little bit with the torso. Now with your hands or the forearms, press the inner thighs out and away from each other. And with the knees at the same time, I'm pressing in with equal force. So squeeze the knees in, but your arms are not letting the knees come any closer. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You probably feel a bit of shaking. It's a good sign. It means you're really getting in there, activating the muscles that we are lengthening. And release that, keep the knees bent. This time come up a little bit, have your hands to the outside of the knees or thighs, and then press the knees out and back into the hands. So now we're using the outer hip muscles. Feel that? If you can switch them on to open the legs wider and away from each other, facilitating a stretch in the adductors. So the opposing muscles are the abductors, which move the legs away from each other. Nice. And then slowly release that. Wiggle the feet a little bit further away from each other and turn the feet parallel. And if I say parallel, I actually mean the outer edge of the foot parallel to the short edge of your mat. Have hands to hips and start to fold forward, forward, forward until you feel, okay, that's it. You can lower the hands there. Now, a couple of activations. What we can do is walk the hands a little bit back, bend the elbows, and press the hands down like chaturanga almost. But we're mostly concerned with the legs, so for today, I recommend to hold the feet or the ankles, maybe the big toes, that's also an option. You can use your bent knees to do that if you need a little bit more space, there's no problem. And use that to press the feet down, and then pull the feet towards each other in the middle, almost like you're trying to scrunch up the mat here in the middle. Your feet are not going to go anywhere. But you'll feel with this action you're engaging the adductors and as it were pulling your upper body a little bit further down over the legs. If your head easy comes down, then just move the feet a bit closer so that there's no weight in the head. We're not doing headstand. We're stretching the inner thighs. And then slowly come back up. Now turn the left toes out And the right toe is a bit in, so we are setting up for warrior 2. It's a really nice inner thigh opener. And I go a little bit longer than your normal stance, so we can really get in there, bend that front knee a lot, press that back foot down, especially the outer edge. And I have one hand on the hip, one hand on the inner knee, and then open the two away from each other, as it were. You won't see much difference, but you feel into the groin, and those adductors are getting a really nice stretch while being in this strong position here. Straighten the left leg, turn the left toes in, turn the right toes out. Keep a long stance so your feet are far away from each other. Bend the right knee a lot. We don't want the right knee over the ankle. If that's the case, walk even further. And again, one hand inner right knee, one hand left hip, and then pull the two away from each other. There's not going to be much movement, but you'll feel it in the inner thighs, in the groin. Keep your core a little bit strong so we don't go into a back bend, which will negate some of the work that we are doing. Couple of breaths. Some of this work is intense and might be a little bit new, but if you want to get flexible, then this is the work that is needed. Whew. Straighten the front leg, well done. Now turn the left toes out and move the hands down. Straighten the right leg, bend the left knee quite a bit. My left foot is about 45-degree angle, and then all I'm going to do with the left forearm or elbow, I'm going to push the inner left thigh away from me. And what I like to do is almost to smoothen the skin towards your knee, so you feel that length in the adductors here on the insides of the leg, and you'll also feel it in the straight leg, probably even more than in the bent leg. Push your right foot down and create the action of dragging your right foot towards your left. Soften the hips, soften the hips, soften the hips. And stay. Use your breath to work with any sensations, even if it's challenging, then even more. And straighten the left leg, turn the toes parallel. Bend the right knee, turn the toes a bit out, 45 degrees. I'm keeping left hand in the center more or less. Right elbow or forearm is pushing the right knee away from me, and also smoothing the skin towards the knee, as it were. Then I'm working on softening the hips down. This is quite a tight area in my body. The inner thighs, they seem to take a very long time to open up. But after years of yoga, I do feel quite a lot of extra space that I can move into. So that is positive. We should never worry what we can do in a single session, but what we can do in a couple of years if we keep showing up with good intention. This is the work. And then straighten that leg again. We're going back to the left, but this time start to bend the left knee like you're squatting and straighten the right leg. And what I need to do is I need to lift that left heel a little bit because of restrictions around the hips. I want to keep the chest a little bit lifted. Of course, you're leaning a bit forward, that's okay, but keep a bit of length in the spine so we're not all collapsed in a little heap. And then I'm actively lifting the right toes, pushing that right heel down, and with the left elbow, I'm actually pressing that left knee a little bit wider here. It's called Skandasana, the surfer's lunge. And then shift to the other side. You can lift the heel if you need to. I'm using this structure with the elbow to push that right knee out. And I'm straightening the left leg, lifting the toes up. If feel that, lots of space. The legs are moving away from each other, which is stretching our adductors. And then move back to the first side. And this time, a couple of times, turn the toes down and then turn them a little bit back behind you. So we're rotating this entire leg from the hip. And you feel you're just hitting different angles of the adductors, probably a bit of hamstrings as well. Just exploring different angles. And then back to the second side, let's do the same. Left toes up and then turn them down. You can stop at any point and then turn them back. And attempt to rotate not just the ankle but the entire thigh bone from the hip. Back to the first side. This time I'm going to try to keep this heel grounded, and if you need to shorten or lengthen, you can do that. And I'm squatting inside the left thigh. You can reach your hands for counterbalance, lifting the right toes up. And this time I'm working to keep that heel down. Even if you're a little bit higher up, then that's okay. And some people will even be able to sit all the way down. If you could sit down, you can, and then try to get back up. I can't do that without using my hands. And then move to the second side and try to stay low. Right heel stays down this time. Left leg straightens. And I'm squatting down. I feel like I have more space on this side than on the first one. Stay low and sneak to the other side. Do one more on each side. Check out if you have a little bit more space. Sneaking to the second side. And then return to the center. Well done. Now move the feet as far apart as they'll go. All the way to the short edges of your mat. More. And then when you get there, lift the toes up. And you can use your hands to support you. If you need to prop up your hands, you can use some blocks or pillows, whatever's nearby to support on. The chair will also work. And here we'll work on the middle splits, which mine is not quite ready for Instagram, but it does feel good to do this after a bit of opening work in the adductors. So what I'm doing is I'm engaging the quads to straighten the legs, to straighten the knees. I'm turning the toes up as far as they'll go. And I'll keep lengthening the spine. You might feel you can drop in a little bit deeper. Hold for another moment. And then you can come up if that works, or you could place your hands behind you just to sit back. We're going to be doing this pose. Actually, I want to modify it a bit. It's called Upavishta Konasana. And first, I want to cancel out one of the legs by actually sitting on the heel. So bend your right knee. Sit on the right heel and straighten the left leg out to the side. So actually, we're doing that pose, the same pose that I briefly showed you, but we're going on the one side only. And then open the knees away from each other and start to lean a little bit forward. You might have to stay more straight up. If you feel plenty on the inner thigh, then that's you, that's your destination. Or if you've got a little bit more space, you can start to walk the hands forward, maybe place the elbows down. Just feel this for a moment. Keep the legs quite active, especially the straight leg. And then walk halfway to your left leg. Just stay there for a moment. So you're turning the torso a bit left. Couple of breaths. And then walk more towards the left leg, maybe with your left hand holding the left shin, the left ankle, left foot, it doesn't matter, and leaning a little bit over to the left. If it's too much at any point, just back off a little bit. It's really not worth it to strain ourselves beyond our capacity today. We just want to stay around that edge where you feel this is really challenging, but I'm okay. I can stay here. It feels beneficial. I can calm my breath and soften my body, and then slowly release. You might feel like you're a little bit stuck here. I recommend to walk forward first, then to get that left knee under. For a moment you could come to this in-between pose. Sitting back on the heels, the knees quite wide. And then let's take it over to the other side. So I'm sitting on the left heel. I'm reaching that right leg out. I can already feel this side is way tighter on the right inner thigh than on the left. So be it. And if it's available, lean a little bit forward. So you might just be on the fingertips. You might be sitting all the way up. Or anywhere in between. You might be lying all the way down, which I can't show you. Couple of breaths. Here we are. It's intense, but you're in a good place. And can you manage the intensity so it's just right? Not that it becomes overwhelming and stressful, and also not that it becomes boring and not doing anything really. So we want to find the middle point. Right leg is still quite active, but I'm trying to relax all those muscles, tissues on the inner thigh here. And then walk halfway towards your right leg, see how that feels. So slightly different angle. Quite intense for me, especially on this side. Feels way more restricted, so I'm gonna go a little bit easier on this side until this side opens up more. And then walking a little bit more towards the right leg, maybe even holding onto it in some way. You can also use a strap to do that, or just use your hands to turn a little bit to the right. And then using the breath is a really good tool to direct your attention to some of the tighter spots. It almost feels like you can breathe into the muscles that we're stretching. Not really, of course, but our attention can go there. And our breath does affect what is happening all around the body. So use that relaxation reflex that you have as a built-in feature. And then slowly release that. Now for the last one we'll need a block or something to sit on. A pillow is also good. I'm sitting on the block. There's a way to do this without the block, but I find it really beneficial here. And I'm placing the soles of the feet together. You could slide them in as much as is available to you. So a bit further away from you is going to be milder. Closer in is going to be a bit more intense. And then I'm trying to tilt the pelvis forward and lean the torso a little bit forward. With the knees or the elbows, I can just rest them on the shins or on the inner thighs, just to lightly press the knees down. But as you can see, this is not my most open yoga pose. This one feels quite restricted in my body, and even after all these years of yoga, it still feels like quite a challenge to stay here. So I'm taking it as it comes, lengthening the spine forward, softening the knees out to the sides. And as always, your pose might not look anything like this. Your knees might be way lower, there's a good chance. You might be lying all the way down, or you might be needing to settle a bit higher up, which is also good. So just do your version without worrying too much about others. And if you feel the space in the inner thighs, then you're doing it just right. Let's take 3 more deeper breaths. Inhale. Exhale, relax the knees out to the sides. 2 more, inhale. Exhale. Breathe into any tight spots. Inhale. Exhale, let the relaxation be complete. Slowly lift back up. You can always use your hands to close the knees, especially after being in a pose for quite a while. That might be helpful. And then you place the block off to the side. Our last pose is probably not going to be high on your list of favorite yoga poses ever, but it might. I don't want to draw any conclusions. It's called frog pose. So we're sitting on the knees. I'm opening the knees wider. I'm sliding them away from each other, and then I'm aligning the shins so that they're parallel to each other, to the short edge of the yoga mat. And I'm flexing the feet so that they form a 90-degree angle. And then I can go down onto elbows, but you're also welcome to stay up on the hands. And here, let's do the active part first. It's quite brief. We're just going to squeeze the knees into the mat as if we're trying to slide the knees together. So squeeze, 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 building up tension for 10, 9, gradually squeeze harder, 8, 7, you might be shaking, 6, 5, increase the tension, 4, 3, squeeze knees together, 2, 1, release and soften the hips down even more. Now for 10 counts as well, we'll do the opposite, which is engaging the outer hips to try and slide the knees away from each other. They're probably not going to move, but that's not the point. We're just engaging the outer hips to stretch the inner thighs. So engage outer hips, slide the knees away from each other. Imagine even lifting the knees up away from the mat. 10, 9, 8, build up the pressure. 7, 6, 5, feel the knees being pulled away from each other. 4, 3, 2, maximum effort. 1, and release all the effort. Soften the hips down. Take a few deeper breaths. Let the hips be heavy. Let the mind be clear. And then to come out, don't be in a rush, just come up on the hands first. And then I recommend first slide the feet or the toes closer together, and then you can sit back and finally bring the knees together. Whew, that was quite an intense one for me. I don't know how it went for you. Drop me a line if you want to. And well done for doing this work. Come back often, repeat this one if you feel it was helpful. If you return to it regularly, it's gonna produce amazing results at some point or another. And thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.